My very favorite part about going to Sunday school was the flannel graph that my teacher used. So today, I'm going to start off my speech by telling you a story in flannel graph form. Our story takes place in a beautiful meadow with a bright blue sky over it and a house. This is the house of Voltaire, the Frenchman. Voltaire is renowned throughout the entirety of France for his amazing wit, and one day he writes, "Another 50 years and there will not be a Bible on earth." He very strongly believes that soon Bibles will become extinct and only read by antique curiosity seekers. Today, Voltaire is dead, and his home was purchased by the French Geneva Bible Society. And they used his house and his press to produce stacks of Bibles. As a Christian, I believe that the Bible has been divinely inspired. And I want to share with you a selection of my favorite facts that support the divine origins of the Bible. We'll look into 3 categories: scientific statements made within the Bible and how our modern day research supports them, archaeology that helps prove the historical accuracy of the Bible, and finally, how the Bible's very manuscripts radiate with unique traits that set them apart from every other book ever written. Scientific statements are scattered throughout the Bible, and to best show you them, I'm going to take you to my laboratory, where 5 of them are pictured, and I want to explain how they each coordinate with the modern day science. 1 Corinthians 15:41. The sun has one kind of glory, while the moon and stars each have another kind, and even the stars differ from each other in their glory. When this Bible verse was written, people saw the stars and assumed them all to look alike, because to the naked eye, they're basically just points of light. But thanks to astronomy, we can study their light spectra, and that reveals that every single star has its own unique radiance or glory. Job 38:16, have you journeyed to the springs of the sea, or walked in the recesses of the deep? When this verse was written, people couldn't have known that these sea springs existed because the technology needed to find them hadn't been invented yet. The Bible shows us basic knowledge in oceanography that was far before its time. In Proverbs 17:22, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Harvard Medical School has done studies in pathology that reveal in order to fully heal a patient, you have to address both their emotional needs as well as the physical ailments because of the way that emotions impact physical health. Genesis 1:21, so God created the great creatures of the sea and every living and moving thing with which the water teems, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. Throughout this verse and the entire chapter, the phrase according to its kind is used over and over, and it stresses reproductive integrity. Today, we know that happens because of genetic coding, and the study of that is known as biogenesis. Job 26:7, he spreads out the northern skies over empty space. He suspends the earth over nothing. When this verse was written, people didn't even know the shape of the earth, but the Bible already knew that it literally suspended over nothing. And astrophysics tells us exactly that. Besides these specific statements, the Bible also contains an account of creation. Dr. Russell Humphrey is a PhD and a creationist physicist, and he put together the following list of facts that support a young Earth. We live in the Milky Way galaxy, which has a very distinguished spiral shape because of the way the stars rotate around the center. If our galaxy were any older than 100 million years old, all of these arms would have blended together into a shapeless disk. Our galaxy also experiences one supernova every 25 years, and there are only enough supernova remnants to be consistent with 7,000 years of existence. Carbon dating has been telling us that the Earth is millions of billions of years old, and one of the carbons used in this process is carbon-14. Carbon-14 is being found in rock layers that are allegedly hundreds of millions of years old. The issue with this is, because of its half-life, carbon-14 can only survive in a natural environment for 250,000 years. This anomaly is well known by many scientists and carbon laboratories, but they are still unable to provide a solution for it. DNA is being extracted from insects in amber and fossils, and even 250-million-year-old bacteria was revived with 0 DNA damage. Now, the problem with this is, because of how fragile it is, DNA experts all know it can only survive in an environment for 10,000 years. All of these facts imply very strongly that the Earth isn't millions or billions of years old, but simply thousands. Besides these specific statements, these scientific statements, the Bible also includes many eyewitness accounts that archaeology helps prove true. And my favorite example of that is the fall of Jericho. The Bible describes Jericho as a city with a wall that tightly shut it up. And when archaeologists first found it, the thing they discovered was a very impressive wall built in 2 sections. The base half was there as a retaining wall that kept the hill together upon which the city was built, and the top half was there for defensive advantage. Archaeologists believe that this top half collapsed onto the bottom half and formed the ramp that the Israelites used to climb up and into the city. Part of our wall, however, didn't fall, and this is believed to be the home of Rahab. The Bible tells us Rahab's house was spared in the fall of Jericho, and archaeologists not only found parts of the wall that didn't collapse with the rest, they also found homes built into them. Once the Israelites got into the city, God told them to burn it down and not to plunder anything. So the Israelites burned the city down, and it had to be excavated from underneath a 3-foot layer of ashes and debris. Underneath all that ash and debris, archaeologists found large jars of charred grain, which were especially significant to them because they meant that it had to be the Israelite nation who did this. Any other nation would have plundered that grain because of the great value it had in that day. Archaeology also helps prove true the accuracy of the Bible we have today. Beginning in the year 1947, the Qumran caves were excavated, and in them were found over 850 various copies of the Bible. Of all those copies, one of the most interesting was a complete copy of the book of Isaiah. This copy was 1,000 years older than the previous oldest known copy. But when the two were compared, it was found that they were 95% identical. And the 5% in differences was all minor error in punctuation and spelling. And that made the Old Testament especially astonishing to the people that studied it. Dr. Gleason Archer is a man who learned over 30 individual languages, and most of them came from the Middle East area in Old Testament times. And he stated, in this respect, the Old Testament differs from all other ancient works of literature. For example, in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the variations are far more extensive. Apart from divine superintendence, there is no reason why those same patterns of divergence should occur in the Hebrew manuscripts, produced centuries apart. The last picture that I want to share with you is the one that inspired this speech. The bars at the bottom of this graph represent every single chapter in the entire Bible, and each of the lines that make up the rainbow are a cross-reference that the Bible has made within itself. I believe that this is the perfect way to show you the unity of the scriptures, and just one more way to show you how they stand out from all other books ever written. Because there has yet to be another book that is so ancient yet scientifically accurate, and that remains so historically accurate even when tested by archaeology. And finally, its very manuscripts radiate with unique character traits that set them apart from every other book ever written. And that's why I believe that of those other books, the Bible really is the one that was divinely ordained and divinely inspired. Thank you.